A little bit about the mechanics of the actual programme itself. It'll launch on Saturday the 26th of April with a training session for all the coaches who have applied through the various clubs. And it's open to all coaches in the county to apply to participate. Application forms will be forwarded to all clubs within the coming week, and venues for the training will then be selected depending on the numbers applying and the geographic spread of applicants. We've planned a second training session on Saturday the 10th of May, and the administration of the project will be managed by Liam O'Gormley, our Development Officer, and Padraig Clancy, the County Board Coaching Officer. And given the generous sponsorship from Devenish Nutrition, one of the key aspects to this actual programme is that the entrance fee for the training sessions is free. So the coaches don't have to worry about that piece of the equation. Catering for the programme on the day and the attendance fee that will be sponsored.
And it's just
Richard, let's put the money aside for one moment. Why would Devenish Nutrition get involved in an initiative like this?
Well, because we see it as just probably more than simply a sponsorship. We don't feel that you can simply sponsor a team and say, well, there's £1, spend whatever you want on gear or food or whatever. We felt that there needed to be more than simply coming forward with something like that. So we wanted to bring another dimension and something that was valuable, something that had was genuine and had a value and depth to it, because we felt that there was there are elite sportsmen who obviously, well, we hope they're elite as Sligo footballers, as Sligo minor footballers, but we also wanted to say that the fact that those guys were elite sportsmen, we were interested in sponsoring them because we feel they'll perform. But also the fact that they're elite, there are 100 or 200 other footballers behind them who have helped them, who've developed them with their clubs, and then therefore why shouldn't we give something back to them? And that's really where, when we came to Sligo GAA and said, look, we'd like to do a little bit more than just the normal sponsorship, they said they were very positive about that. They also felt that, showing some initiative, willingness to invest in the people and the youth of Sligo was worthwhile. And as we said, it would have been much easier to say, look, we don't want to do that. We take the money, we put it into against our debt, which is a significant debt. But I think it shows tremendous balance. It shows tremendous independence of mind by Sligo to say, no, there's more to this than just paying off the debt. Okay,
you're a Tour de Strand man, so you have, from a GAA point of view, you have a personal as well as a professional interest in this.
Yeah, there are always parallels. We're lucky enough in Devenish to have been successful over the last number of years. Our business is very much focused on being an independent, innovative business. We have an international scope, and we aim to do the right thing in everything we do. We take on an awful lot of big multinational companies in our business. They are ultimately our competition. Sligo is very similar to that. Sligo are small from a GAA point of view. Tour de Strand are small in numbers from a GAA point of view, but it never stops us. And there are always opportunities because of your nimbleness, because of your size, because of your independence. And that's what we wanted to foster. Sligo have taken that initiative. They've shown innovation, and they've shown independence and willingness to invest and go after something that has real value and meaning. They're very similar values to what we hold in Devenish Nutrition, so it was natural to do that. And from a Tour de Strand point of view, of course I'm very proud to see a company that I work for on the front of a Sligo jersey, because what I do, as I've described to Peter and Joe, is I have a Tour de Strand jersey on, but every time I take off my Tour de Strand jersey, I have a Sligo jersey under it.
Kieran, has there been an initiative like this in a GAA sense before with the County Board that you're aware of?
Not that I would be aware of. I mean, we brought the QPR Suicide Prevention Training Programme over from Washington last year, and we kind of piloted it in a few cities and communities across Ireland last year to great success. And what we find is that we'd call this a gatekeeper training programme. So it's really about, I suppose, equipping people who potentially would come in contact with people who might be in crisis or having difficulties, or who might be vulnerable or at risk of suicide. And it's really about equipping those people with very basic skills and knowledge about suicide to allow them to respond as appropriately as possible. So it's kind of a program that equips people at a very basic level, at a level where there's a potential to make a lot of difference, because we're never going to be well enough resourced to have counsellors on every street corner in the country. Critical services or A&E departments aren't going to be as equipped as we'd like them to be, and very often when people are in difficulties or at risk of suicide or feeling vulnerable, they just want to be listened to and accepted and met with some degree of empathy and understanding and knowledge and competence, and that's what these programmes are really about.
The training you'll be offering to the Sligo GAA public is QPR training, which stands for Question, Persuade, Refer. Just talk to me a bit about that.
So Question, Persuade, Refer really, I suppose, just breaks it down into 3 very manageable steps. They're very, very basic. Really it's about finding the confidence and the words and I suppose the sensitivity to ask a question about suicide, and to ask someone who maybe has appeared vulnerable or maybe said a few things, or they might have just experienced a lot of difficulties in their lives or a lot of different losses, and we just don't know how to approach it with the person. So maybe our alarm bells have rang and we've noticed there may be something wrong. So it gives us the confidence to ask the question about suicide in a very safe way. In terms of persuading and referring, we often hear that when people are having difficulties or I suppose in the midst of a crisis or a depression, that very often they just want to close the door, and they don't want to talk to anyone, they don't want to see anyone, they refuse all help, and those can be really difficult things to manage. So there is an element of persuasion in there, and again that's just about finding the language and the negotiation skills to try and encourage someone to take the next most appropriate step. And referring is really about, we can't be a counsellor or a therapist or a GP or, to everyone that we come across in our everyday life. So, but we do have a responsibility to find the next appropriate safe step. And how do we do that? Where is the most helpful place to refer someone to? So again, it gives us the confidence and the knowledge to be able to negotiate that with a person and help them get that referral to somewhere safe.
Okay, so for a Sligo GAA coach listening, you don't have to have a qualification in counselling. They shouldn't feel intimidated by this. This is a training course that can make this material manageable. Absolutely.
By no means, we don't need to be the person to fix everything for someone in difficulties. We don't need to have a magic wand to make everything better, or we don't all of a sudden assume all this responsibility for this person. Really, this is about, one of the things that you hear an awful lot with suicide is when suicide does occur, everyone connected to the person will reflect back and think, what did I miss? Maybe I did notice something there and I didn't maybe ask, or I didn't act on it, or could I have intervened here, and that's a very difficult thing to handle after a suicide. And in truth, there are a lot of signals about suicide, some of them are very covert and some of them are very obvious as well. So this program just gives us the skills and the knowledge to be able to pick up on those signs and those risk factors, if you like, as well, and gives us the confidence to be able to talk about it in a calm and safe environment with the person.
The GAA community has had to deal in a very public way with 1 or 2 tragic instances in the last couple of years. There's been several high-profile GAA personalities who have had the courage to come out and talk about their own depression. Yeah. Are they things Console have noticed?
Yeah, absolutely, and those sorts of things are really important, because we know that statistically young men in Ireland are a lot higher than the European average. They're a lot more at risk than other demographics in Ireland. We have the 4th highest rate of suicide among young men in Europe, so that's a huge problem area. And one of the things that's said very often is that men of a particular age just don't want to talk about their problems. They don't want to open up, and they think it might be a sign of weakness. So really the GAA is ideally placed to really, I suppose, help coaches just be a little bit more attuned to what might be going on for some of their players, particularly the younger players, and to be a little bit more sensitive and to have the radar on a little bit more, and to give them, I suppose, the ability to intervene where possible.